All right, guys. Phony, baloney, and friends. Week 10, pivotal week. After this week, we got 3 more games left in the regular season. 3 more chances to get top points for the week. It seems like LT wins every other week. Interesting. And so it's going to be a pivotal week here. Really help shape the playoff picture. So what we're going to do today, we've got Brothers Lish here again. We're going to go through some of the matchups. And Low.
Hey, guys.
Yep. And we're going to go through some of these matchups. But a little special mid-regular season and playoff season after week 9 now. We're going to look at people's drafts. And this week, we'll be covering the worst picks of people's draft. Injury or non-injury, some of the worst picks so far that we have seen. So without further ado, we will start with DT, with Matt Starr against Core. Your girly digs my woods against Cup Size equals DD, double Ds.
Yeah, so this is an important matchup, really more so for Matt than it is for Core, but the projections are pretty equal here. We got a 111 versus 110.
Why are they equal?
They're equal because Core has a lot of guys on bye week.
He wanted us to make sure that was noted.
We need to note that. So let's get into some of the worst picks from each team. For Core, I think we're gonna have to say is DD Westbrook. He's on a bye week this week. I think you picked him in the first pick of the sixth round, last pick of the sixth round.
No, he was in the first pick of the 7th.
Nope, that's not according to
not
the
true.
draft board.
Not true.
Yeah, what the
Not
draft
true.
board says.
No, that was a 6er.
He's a 6th round pick.
And for Matt Starr, I mean Kenyon Drake in the 5th. Now, he did have a good game last week against the Niners, but I don't know. That's still
Questionable Rashad Penny in the 7th.
questionable. Rashad Penny. I don't know why he has Raheem Mostert on his team right now, but he didn't draft him, so he can't be eligible for a worst draft pick.
Just worst team on worst person on any roster. Right?
Worst person on any roster is Raheem Mostert. Okay, but Core wins, and let's just say we'll go with the projection here: 112 to 110.
All right. Next matchup we got goes over to Core's squad, or Core's picking it. It'll be my matchup. It'll be RT versus Patty, the Nook Bowl sandwiches against Are You Joking Disley 2, Patty's team.
Okay, let's start off first with the. Lish has had a lot of awful picks. He had not a great draft. Couple picks that come to mind: Damian Williams in the 2nd round for Lish.
Now, granted, that was before the LaShawn McCoy trade.
Doesn't matter.
LaShawn
That
McCoy
might
is
be
still
the
ass.
worst pick out of anybody's draft this year.
Besides DD Westbrook.
And then DD Westbrook was the first pick of the 7th round. It was the last.
Let me
pick of
just
the
pull.
6th.
Let me just pull up the board while you're talking.
And then
We'll get that on camera, please.
And then the juice, OJ Howard for Lish. Oh my God, he was so excited.
I started him for like 6
He
weeks.
was so excited to put him up on the board. So awful.
I couldn't believe y'all let him fall to me. Now I know why.
So awful. So then, if we look at Patty's team, the worst picks.
I
By the
see
way-
purple in the 6th.
Sixth round.
Patty's team.
Okay, so Patty's team, you kind of got lucky with the Eckler touchdown there, Patty, but we'll get to that in a second. The worst picks for Patty's team, actually, surprisingly, Devontae Adams is the WR58 right now.
Injury though.
Injury.
I know he's been injured, but like hopefully Patty.
Yeah, but even in the games, he's had one good game. All the other games,
Yeah,
like he had
Patty,
7.8 points
this is
last
the
week,
thing,
and then he
Patty.
had like
With
games
your
with
picks,
like 5.
Patty, can I talk? With your picks, Patty,
Wow.
your guys that are on this list, so you have Devontae Adams that was a bad pick right now, and Brandon Cooks right now is a bad pick. There's the potential for your guys to still salvage something in the season. I can't say the same thing for Lish.
Bad pick for
Um,
Patty.
But if I'm looking at the matchup really quickly, I think that Patty gallops to victory this week.
Wow. That's awful. I'm going to go with an easy one, really, to start here, and that is going to be Gary Dunlap's awful team against Mike P. It's just, I mean, I can look at projections and try to figure out a way that makes it work for Nope, I can't. It's like 60 to something. So let's just get into the worst picks. Mike P., Josh Gordon in the 5th round. I couldn't have, I mean, you could look
It
at
was
Shep in the
right into-
6th. It was a write-in. Yeah, Shep in the 6th was pretty awful as well.
What about Darrell Henderson?
Shoot, Bell in the 1st, you could argue, is an awful pick.
Darrell
He's like
Henderson
RB
was
like
pretty
18.
bad.
But in any case, Josh Gordon for Mike P. Kerry Dunlap, where do we start? I think we start in the 1st round. Joe Mixon, I say it almost every video. He is so bad, and it's not like, oh wow, how is he so bad this year? His O line from the get-go was going to be awful. And it's Andy freaking Dalton, guys, and that's just awful.
Lish, let me ask you something here.
Hold on, some analysis. Oh yeah, no, that's all I have. Enough said. O-line.
Is since we're doing the worst picks, I would like to nominate maybe Kerry Dunlap as having the worst draft overall of any team. Do you think that's legitimate case for that?
I think we should check that out and really come back next week and figure out, because that's very true. I mean, when your team and you don't have anybody on bye in your lineup right now, you know that, right? And you're projected for 64 points. Your current lineup is 64
Kalen
points.
Ballage.
Anyways, let's move on. Mike P gets the win. All right, we're going to go back to DT here. He's got LT and Andy's matchup, hanging with Mr. Cooper and Chubbs Peterson.
This is a big matchup, a 7-2 against the 6-3. Both teams projected for pretty good points here. I've got LT slightly on the edge here. I don't feel great about picking LT, but it's hard to pick against her when she's 7-2 and she's been rolling. So let's talk about a couple of the worst picks here on Andy's side. I will say there aren't very many like subpar picks here.
You gotta really stretch.
You gotta stretch to find one. So I'm just like kind of looking at his board right now, and I don't know, man. There's like really not anything that stands out. Maybe you could say James White in the 3rd round is a little overdrafted there, but he hasn't even really been that bad. He just hasn't scored that much, and I don't know, maybe Dion Lewis there later on, expecting a little more out of him than we got. So overall, not a bad draft by Andy.
And I'll say when we did like the worst picks, we really tried to keep it to like people in the 10th round and before, because after the 10th, you just kind of are taking flyers on guys. Shouldn't be taking flyers in the 6th round, right, Cor?
So for LT,
I didn't take flyers on
or
anybody.
the 2nd, right, me?
right. So for LT, a good solid draft, but there's a couple that stand out. Initially you see LaShawn McCoy there in the 6th, but he's had a couple good games, so you really got to go there to Dante Moncrief in the 8th. Lish, how many points does Dante Moncrief have on the season?
Less than 4. It's like 3.1 points on the season.
And hasn't been injured, so bad pick there. But honestly, if your worst pick's there in the 8th round and wasn't a guy you were gonna count on, really well done there by LT in the draft.
Because you got Russell Wilson in the 9th right there.
Carlos Hyde in the 10th. I mean, she's had a good draft there, so not much bad to say there, and LT's going to win a squeaker.
All right, I'm going to go to one of my picks next here, and then we'll get back to Core. We'll go with DT's matchup against. Actually, no, we'll go Darcy and Carey's matchup. I got Darcy winning this one, despite the fact that Phillip Rivers already put up an awful showing for her, and Carey has put up Hunter Henry and Melvin Gordon, who have both had solid weeks. But she's got Ito Smith. I mean, I look at this analysis. Ito Smith is out for the year. Dak Prescott against tough Minnesota. Beckham against tough Buffalo pass defense. Amendola, not really sure how to, assess that squad. And then you look on the flip side, Darcy. The only reason I got her winning, but like David Johnson, I'm not sure how Kenyon Drake going to be there and how he's done this. Last week is going to really hurt his touches, but. Aaron Jones in a potential snowy, cold matchup. They may keep the ball on the ground, especially after last week in San Diego. So I've got Darcy for the win. Looking at Darcy's draft, A.J. Green in the 6th round, it's pretty obvious. More and more awful pick, out indefinitely. I understand taking him for value there at the time of which we drafted him, but when you look at it now, And then Carey, I think this is the only QB I have on the list, and that's Baker Mayfield in the 7th.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't want to. It's close. She took Darius Geis in the 6th, so it's really close with him. James Washington in the 8th, and Dante Pettis in the 9th. So when you look at her 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th round picks, that's really led to the downfall of her team. Darcy for the win this week.
Amongst other things, probably.
All right, Core. Who you
Carey's
got?
not great draft.
Okay, I have Jerry's matchup with Brad.
Jerry, I'm not picking your game this week because I've picked you 2 weeks in a row to win, and you've lost both of them. You really suck, man.
Okay, let's first go into the awful draft picks. First, maybe bad luck, but maybe not. Antonio Brown for Jared. maybe being on Jared's team was the kiss of death for that guy, but he's about 40 million in the hole.
Any of us 40 million in the hole?
And
No.
you know, he's got some litigation coming up. I think he's trying to. His agent says that some teams still want him. I don't know. Another really bad pick for Jer was Duke Johnson. Everyone was like, "Oh, I really like that pick."
Scored twice against me.
Third round, I was very vocal against that.
It was an awful pick.
At least it came after the Lamar Miller injury.
Looking at Bradley's team, the really bad pick there was Tariq Cohen. ESPN kind of like teased us last week because they gave him a touchdown, but it was actually a David Montgomery touchdown. I was like, oh, he salvaged his day. No, he didn't.
Fifth
So,
round pick right there.
looking at the matchup, actually Bradley's got a pretty good squad this week. I think Jer kind of runs into a brick waller here.
Hey.
Bradley's team's
His
gonna,
best player's already gone, and he only got 5.5
Bradley's
points.
team is going to put up a barrage of points, and to be honest with you, I was doing the math here, couldn't even find anything in Pascal's triangle to give Jer the win. So, Bradley, I think
Jarrett also no defense in. He's leaving New England in for
He already knows he's gonna
sentiment's
lose this
sake.
week.
Yes.
He already knows he's
So
gonna
I give the win to Bradley here, and to be honest, it's not even close. Sorry,
lose.
Jerry.
Even close. Am I the only one left?
Mm-hmm, it's my
Okay.
matchup, I think.
All right. And the matchup of the week, DT against Joe. Quickly into the picks here. Worst picks for DT, Alvin Kamara. Could it be Alvin Kamara instead of Zeke in the next pick after, who he's going against this week? It may be a stretch. It's hard to call like a top pick, but he's got 2 touchdowns on the year. He's been injured, so it's looking
He's
like
also
it's
got
been a bad
He's also
pick.
got a nose ring that makes him look like a bull.
Yeah, well, so does Zeke. So, well, not like a bull, but he's got one. But the other one, maybe Curtis Samuel in the 6th at this point. It's really tough to say, but that's what I got there.
Lish,
And
can
then
I just tell you something about Curtis Samuel?
tell me about something about Curtis Samuel?
Yeah,
I tell you that Joe's worst pick is Sammy Watkins.
he's a top
in the
25 wide receiver scoring this
People
year.
loved
First-
Sammy Watkins
first
after the
six,
first
first
week.
6th round pick. He's number 24 wide receiver. That's like I don't feel like that's
Is
bad.
that true?
Yes, it's true.
All right, so Kamara. I stick with my
Okay,
initial
fine.
Kamara.
Kamara's the worst.
All right. For Joe, it's going to be Sammy Watkins. What a great week 1. I don't even know if you started him or not.
What a
but,
week! What a
I mean,
week!
has he
47
got more than 4
points.
points since? I don't even know.
I like him now that Patrick Mahomes is back and he's probably feeling healthy. And now that Tyreek is also back, I like Sammy the rest of the year.
Go ahead, trade
Corey
for him.
Davis wasn't so great.
He's just saying that he's in your
I'll
FanDuel
trade
lineup.
you D.D. Westbrook for Sammy, straight up.
5th rounder for a 6th rounder doesn't seem fair. No, I'm just kidding. All right, but then looking at the matchup, obviously I love both these quarterbacks this week. Atlanta will be playing from behind. Jameis may not be playing.
Not at the beginning of the
Jameis will be. He'll have at least 4 turnovers, but he's going to have to make up for it by playing catch up and throwing the ball. Alvin Kamara, favorable matchup, hopefully back, but I wonder how many touches he'll see to Latavius Murray. But I think DT, where he's got the edge, is he's going to get that double up with Jameis Winston to Chris Godwin. Arizona's awful.
We call that a stack.
That's actually that's the wrong.
I
term
call
to
it a
use,
double
but okay.
dip.
But in any case, Winston and Godwin for the pairing on the stack. But that's going to be good because Arizona's awful against the slot. And I like that, especially with Mike Evans being on. Patrick Peterson probably being on Mike Evans. He's probably going to have to look that way a little bit more. He's
Patrick
got Julio,
Peterson's like
Austin
5'10",
Hooper.
Mike Evans like 6'4". Why are they whatever?
Okay, we'll see. DJ Moore against a tough Green Bay defense, potentially unfavorable conditions. Kittle may or may not even play. Now, the thing Watkins has going for him is Malcolm Butler's out for the year, so Tennessee's pass defense isn't as good as the stats would show.
Lish, are we
think Andy-
underrating the Saints' defense here with Matt Ryan? I mean,
No, I don't. No, that's what I'm saying. Like Matt Ryan's gonna be playing from behind. Saints defense is good, but at some point when they get up so high, when they're up so good, like Matt Ryan's gonna have just the volume that's gonna get him
yeah,
into good
they
numbers.
can't run the ball. Atlanta can't run
Voluminous.
So, in any case, I do have DT winning this matchup. Narrow margin, good matchup. It'll be a
narrow?
good week. How narrow? I'm going to say DT wins by a score of 131, above his projection,
the ball. That's a nice
to 126.
Wow.
Yeah, I bet both teams barely crack 100. Okay.
Do I smell wager on 100, the century mark?
I bet both teams will not break 100 points. I'll put a $5 on that. Meanwhile, you think they're going to combine for 250 points.
So this is a live bet going on right here. Lish thinks both teams will go over 100. Core thinks as long as one doesn't go over 100, he wins.
Mm-hmm. 5. Put a $5 on it.
Lish, what do you think about
Can that be a conditional based on whether or not George Kittle plays?
Nope, because you're thinking he's going to score 250 points.
We'll take this off camera. We're gonna leave you guys in suspense. That's the video.